The latest Black Clover chapter has revealed something gigantic. The land above the Spade Kingdom. This reveal is much bigger than the Black Clover fandom seems to realize. It could even be a possible clue to a Black Clover sequel series. Is this the Joker Kingdom, a reference to Tabata's first work, Hungry Joker? I explain why the West is at the top of the map in Black Clover, which is actually very unusual, and many other symbolic and mythological and even biblical things that could explain why evil might lurk above the Spade Kingdom. If you end up liking this video, consider subscribing. Please enjoy this video. Let's go! Lucy's plan was finally revealed. He wants to gain control of all the magic of the entire world. When he was shown placing his hand over the entire globe, we saw the continent of the Four Kingdoms. However, what is fascinating about this panel is not the context of the chapter, but rather the foreshadowing behind it. When we look at the top of the Spade Kingdom, we see a land connected to the continent of the Four Kingdoms. This is something that has only been shown outside of the main story of Black Clover, or rather outside of the manga chapters. The first time was over half a decade ago when the first map of Black Clover was released. Then years later in the anime, not directly but rather as a black force coming from above the Spade Kingdom and taking over the entire continent of the Four Kingdoms. This land was never part of the main manga, so it could never really be considered relevant. However, this has now changed. The fact that Tabata has now decided after 350 chapters to include this land above the Spade Kingdom in the official part of the Black Clover manga confirms all speculations. Something is happening in the world of Black Clover beyond the conflict between the Spade, Heart, Clover and Diamond Kingdoms, with the land of the Rising Sun involved far away. Either Tabata is building a sequel series with a monthly release, as is often the case with series like Black Clover, or the land above the Spade Kingdom has always been involved in the main storyline but was acting behind the scenes. Much like the land of the Rising Sun, it could even be that there are people who come from this land and act undercover, similar to how Yami, for example, is from the land of the Rising Sun. Maybe the real fight is even between Ryu, who is on one side of the earth, and a still unknown character who's on the other side. Maybe someone who is just manipulating Lucius. Both Ryu and this still unknown character could then have something like a chess game, where the game board is the Four Kingdoms. Both don't want to get their hands dirty, but still fight in their own way. One is good and the other is evil. Definitely not impossible, and there are many other ways this mysterious land could be explained. For this, we need to understand how this land is related to the Four Kingdoms and what the geographical location tells us about this land. Let's start with the location. I have seen many people say that this is just the land of the Rising Sun. They couldn't be more wrong. If you look at the map, it's not a map with north facing up as we know it from our world. It is a map in which the west is facing up, with the north to the right. And that makes a lot of sense. In the east, we have the land of the Rising Sun. And why? Obviously because the sun rises in the east. It's below the Clover Kingdom, so in order for Yami to be shipwrecked in the Clover Kingdom and thus arrive at the coast, he has to come from the east. Then I have seen some people saying that it is the North Pole. No, because it's not the north. Others have said that in the world of Black Clover, the poles might be in the west and in the south. It's a fantasy series, so anything is possible. But why assume that just to say it doesn't matter to the series? If the land above the Spade Kingdom is one of the poles, then the land of the Rising Sun is the opposite pole, and as we know, it is very important. So that would only prove that the land above the Spade Kingdom is also very important, since it will thus be the counterpart to the Hino land. So it makes no sense to use this as an argument against this theory. West-facing maps, that is, maps that show the West at the top, are a rarity in the history of mankind, and there are only a few examples, so there must be a very good reason why Tabata chose to do this, because as I said, it is very unusual. Some scholars see a purpose in the decision to draw these maps with the West at the top. Namely, the direction of the map might reveal something about the direction of the mind. That is, the mind of the person drawing the map. In such cases, people orient themselves with what is important and put it on top. For example, we write from the top down. When you look at something, you always start from the top. The face of a person is at the top of the body. It's human instinct. And that is also the concept of the west-up maps. That's why when a map is facing west, it's because the focus of the map is mainly on the west. The west shows what is important. And that fits very well with the first map of Black Clover, which showed the land above the Spade Kingdom covered with a cloud. Clouds often indicate something like areas not yet discovered. You probably know this from games where the areas you haven't discovered yet are covered with clouds. This could be the same principle here and fits with the West Up maps in human history, where the destination of the important part of the map is in the west. Cardinal points have symbolic meanings that Tabata likes to use for this plot, and the West has a very interesting symbolic meaning. It is seen as a place of darkness and evil, which fits very well with the Black Clover opening that shows how a dark force that came from the land above the Spade Kingdom has taken over the entire continent. The sun sets in the west, ushering in the night, a time when sin is common. Adam and Eve were expelled from the Garden of Eden to the west after their sin. The west was also considered the direction of death. It was always believed that the edge of the world was in the west. The west door of medieval churches through which worshippers exited often featured a large stained glass window depicting the Last Judgment above the door. The Last Judgment is also called Judgment Day, a term literally used in Black Clover. This is the day Lucius will attack. Other terms are Doomsday or Day of Resurrection, a possible reference for the Undying Body spell. Here we even have a biblical connection that could indicate a possible connection between Lucius and the land above the Spade Kingdom. So you see, the West is associated with dark values, while the East is the exact opposite. This could be an indication that Rio might actually be good despite all the suspicious things he does. So much for the location. Then we also have to talk about the connection to the Four Kingdoms, because unlike the land of the rising sun, the land above the Spade Kingdom is directly connected to the Four Kingdoms through the Spade Kingdom, and therefore could also have a connection to the four symbols. This is where the Joker Kingdom could actually come into play. As we know, the Four Kingdoms are all based on the French playing cards: Spade, Heart, Clover, and Diamond. And the interesting thing is that the Joker card is only a part of the French decks, as an additional card. If the continents would have followed other symbols like the Italian, Spanish, Swiss, or German ones, then this Joker theory wouldn't make much sense, but with the French system it makes sense, and we even have an unknown landmass above the continent separated from the four main symbols like an extra symbol but still somehow part of the whole system, like the Joker card. The Joker symbol even looks a bit like a crown above the Four Kingdoms, which could indicate a strong power, and in turn could explain why West is on top in Black Clover. It fits so well. And of course it will be a great reference to Tabata's earlier work, Hungry Joker. In this series the main organization was called White Joker, very similar to the name Black Clover. We have already seen the apple of Hungry Joker in the base of the Black Bull, so there could be more Easter eggs like this, like the Joker Kingdom. I would love to hear your ideas about this mysterious land, so please let me know in the comments and tell me what you think about this Black Clover theory. If you enjoyed this video, then please leave a like, and if you want to see more Black Clover content, then subscribe to this channel with the notification bell activated. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye.